Hey guys, welcome back. A little bit of a new project just came in the mail. Something that's gonna, well, it's part of the engine project for us, but thought you guys might like to see it as it comes, and we're gonna probably have to do a few things on it from what I've seen in the pictures. But let's see. And there it is. Anyway, kept it safe for its journey. So, some of you guys might have noticed that I had an Evans 8BA intake sitting on our 59AB project that we've been working on. That's not going to work. So what I did, I was trying to see about some trades, seeing if someone would trade me something I was after, for that. I had a lot of offers of some inexpensive intakes, and what I decided to do is I ended up selling my Evans, and I used the funds to buy another Evans, but this one doesn't have the two holes, for the 8BA. This one also, because it's a wider set, which should give better flow, it should run a lot better than when you get the two pushed way far back so you can fit a generator. The downside is you can't fit a generator, so we're going to have to use an offset generator mount, and we won't be able to use just a standard offset generator mount. We'll have to use one that mounts to the head, but that shouldn't be a problem. One thing you'll notice is that somebody started polishing this. They started with sanding. Looks like they did some guide coat with some black from what I'm seeing. But they didn't finish. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. We're going to polish this 59AB Evans intake and see what we can bring out of it. I'd like to see it pretty dang shiny. It's also had some work done where somebody added some fill and then ported it. Looks like they did a little further grinding up in here, but ported it to match a 59AB, which is what we have. Oh, there's a little weld in this bolt hole, so it might not have even been run this way. I would say it has not been run since it's been ported. But anyway, I think it'll work out just fine. We just got to do a little cleaning up. This has a little, you can see a little booger weld up in there. We'll grind that and relieve it a little bit. We'll get it shined up. We'll make sure all of our ramps and ports are ready to roll. There's definitely some weld that needs to be ground. But yeah, this should work great. I'm pretty excited. Got it for almost the exact same price too, so that was pretty handy. But anyway, let's get to it. All right, guys. So I've done a little looking at this thing, and some of this stuff I just don't understand what they were thinking. They filed down the backs of the carburetor mounts for some reason. Now, I don't think it matters that much because the surface where the carburetor mounts is flat, where all three screw holes is flat, stud holes. I just don't understand why they would do that. But another thing I don't understand is it looks like when you look down inside it, it looks like somebody just went all kinds of crazy trying to port this thing out. And they relieved this thing way out to here. And I don't understand that either. And now it's had bits welded in, aluminum welded. But the welds are in there, like it's not a smooth transition out to the holes. I'd really like it's got a lip now. It almost seems like it would cause fuel to build up on it, on the shelf. I don't know. It's very interesting, the work that was done on this thing. But this almost looks like a repair in the front here too. Now, this does say Evans in the front like it would have, but it looks like it was ground into it. And if you look real close, there's a hole. Somebody drilled a hole up here. I'm guessing for a breather. I'm not really sure. But then they welded this plug in here. I don't think that was done at the factory. It may have been. It may have been done at the factory. And that might be the original Evans. But I don't know. I don't know. I see you can kind of see the porosity of the weld there, where they added this plug back in and then somebody maybe ground Evans back into it. I'm really not sure, but I think it'll still work. I've checked the deck surface and it was milled, so it's flat. So we are going to proceed with polishing this thing, and that starts with sanding. So I got some 1200, got some 1000, I got some 2500, and I got a few little sanding implements. And what we're going to do is we're just going to see how quickly 1000 will knock this stuff down. If it doesn't, then I'll go grab some 600 or maybe some 400 and go there. But I think we should be okay with 1000. It is aluminum, so it should come relatively easily. One of the things you're going to notice is I'm going to, oh, you might not be able to tell, but I'm going to be stepping up finer and finer grit as I go. So I started with 1000 just to see how well that would do. It seemed to be working pretty well in some areas, better than others. And then there's a fair amount of this thing that was never sanded, which is pretty traditional to do back in the day. You know, guys would just kind of sand the high spots, the stuff that was going to be shiny, the stuff you'd see the most. Because when you get carburetors and a generator and pulleys and heads and everything else on your engine, a lot of this stuff's kind of covered up. So, and it's tedious. It's tedious work. It is mind-numbingly tedious work. But so what you're going to see me do here is I definitely am working with 1000. I go up to 12. I go to 2500. But part way through, I realized that I need to start over in some areas and take it all the way back down. So I dropped all the way down to 120 on the main part in the middle between the carbs where it says Evans, and then also down in some of the areas that were still cast and had never been sanded. I wanted to just bring it up a little bit, especially with that black guide coat on it. I didn't want to just run it looking sloppy like that. So some of it's going to get polished out. You know, the high spots will all get polished out. The level I take it to, though, is, you know, I don't want it to look good on the spots that need to look good, and it'll you know, be less shiny down in the valleys and stuff where you can't really see it. But looks like it's going to clean up really nice, though, and I think it'll end up being a pretty good runner with a little work. That turned out pretty good. I may still work on it a bit yet, but pretty happy with how it turned out. You know, it's got some good shine to it. It's going to look great on the engine. Got a Source's nice set of heads still. I'm kind of leaning towards Eddie Meyer heads. Maybe some Navarro heads. I'm not really sure, but kind of depends on what I find, what kind of price, and you know, go swap meet hunting for them. Also got to find a cam. Leaning towards an Isky cam right now. I've been looking at a couple different sizes, but yeah, other than that, I think next video, well, not next video. Next video, what we'll be doing is fitting the X member to the frame. Video after that, I think what we'll do is we'll be breaking out my old vintage Thor valve seat grinder, and we'll be cleaning up the seats on the Flathead. It's absolutely period correct. The valve grinder stones, it had a bunch of new stones in it, and they were wrapped in 1948 sports section newspaper. So that was kind of cool when I scored this whole set for $35. You know, complete, perfect operation. Thing's gonna be great. But X member in the frame next. We'll be doing the valve seats on the block next. After that, maybe set the motor in the frame. Try to figure out if the steering, I was going to run Model A steering. We'll see if the steering is going to work or not. That 337 is a big motor, so not sure if it'll fit or not. And real quick, I'll show you guys one other little thing I got done in the shop this weekend. This week, while in the shop toiling around here and there, is I finally got this working. So I got this jet drill press in a trade, and for an old bomber fuel tank or T-33 fuel tank. And the thing had a 3-phase motor had been fitted to it. And all the wires were hanging. I was trying to figure out how the heck I was going to run 3-phase. And I learned about these converters, these phase shifters. It drops it from 3-phase down to single phase 220 for the, you know, for my 220 plug. So welder or drill press will be plugged in at a time. Now, a 110 motor would probably be ideal. A little 1 horse, but they're expensive, and I didn't want to get any more money into this thing. This converter was $130, and that seemed like a better price than most 1 horsepower 110 motors that would have the right size shaft for this thing. But the thing, I mean, I got the light working. Works great. Now, the one issue I did run into, if you guys end up wanting to do this, I got this on Amazon. You got to make sure your horsepower and your hertz match up with the motor specs on the plate on the motor. One thing I did run into, though, is this motor was wired for high output, 410 or whatever. I had to pull it open and rewire for the low power setting. Because when I first hooked it all up, it was screaming. It was just whining like crazy because it wasn't getting enough power. And I don't know that much about this electrical stuff, so I went down to my buddy's place and checked with him, and that was the first thing he says, you know, maybe you got it set to the high power setting. So sure enough, fixed it right away, and I'm absolutely tickled to have this thing working. It's a major well, I wouldn't say a major, but it's an upgrade from my Craftsman. I had a 1950s Craftsman drill press. Problem with that one was the belts, you know, you can adjust your speed by adjusting the belts, and the belt drives didn't allow that Craftsman to drop to a low enough speed for really, you know, just entry level speed for cutting metal. This thing drops all the way down to 150 RPM. So I can do minor machining, like milling with this, real minor. You don't really want to do it. You know, it's not real good for your spindle to do a lot of machining with your drill press, but it can do some minor stuff, and it can also just do a lot deeper and harder cuts in steel, because I can go nice and slow and add lubricant to it. And yeah, so I'm pretty tickled to get this thing up and running. one more thing in the shop. Need to get an arbor press. I need to get a throatless shear, like a Beverly shear. Don't really have $1,000 for a Beverly shear, a real one, but maybe a Harbor Freight throatless shear. I don't know how good they are, but willing to give it a try. But yeah, working through things now. On the on polishing that intake, you guys can step sandpaper a long way. You can start down at 130, 150 and go 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000. I didn't end up having to do that much of that. And being aluminum, you know, a little more elbow grease allows you to skip steps. But if you want to make it easy on yourself, doing all those steps will and just making sure you change directions. Being aluminum, change directions so you can really see the scratches disappear from the last grit. But yeah, I mean, Harbor Freight green polishing paste and a drill inserted buffing wheel, and that thing came up pretty nice looking. But anyway, if you guys like the content, appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button, like, comment, ask questions if you have any questions. I'm not an expert, you know. I'm finished figuring a lot of this stuff out. I've done some of this stuff before, but I'm still figuring a lot of it out as I go. Always learning. So if you guys have any tips for me, I'd take those. And if you have any questions for me, I'd try to answer them or steer you in the right direction. And yeah, so I'll catch you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks.